Hi, and welcome to another reading, another lecture. Still a little bit on the fence on if I want to call it a reading or a lecture. Well, actually, I'm not really on the fence about it, but because I've already decided that it's a reading and not a lecture. So the difference between a reading and a lecture is that a reading is intuitive and a lecture is scientific. And yeah, just the first thing I can say about that is notice when you are saying in your head, in your mind, one word or one fact, or supporting a certain way of thought, when you start verbalizing, you're doing something else. You're making it more palpable, making it more scientific, like I just did, making it more like what you think other people think you should be doing, or what you think is the sensible choice. And another example that I have of that was that when my last cat died, and this is a while ago, so I have other cats now, but when he died, I couldn't have new cats because there was a renovation coming up from the building, so I would be homeless for a couple of weeks. Or homeless is, wasn't that heavy because obviously I still had a registered address and things like that. But I just knew, this is going to be really difficult if I have cats. Also, I didn't know how long it was. I didn't know if it was just going to be those couple of weeks or that there would be other things. And yes, there were other things as well that would have been very inconvenient if I had had cats. So for over a year, I dreamed about my new cats, and I and I knew that I had really experienced that when there were two of them, and after the first one died, who was a bit older, so that was kind of like to be expected, it became a lot easier to take care of the other cats, because I really experienced, with two elderly cats, there's, they're always both going kind of like up and down, and if you have one stabilized, then the other starts to have health issues. So I just knew, like, I'm not a 2-cat person. I'm a 1-cat person, that I can give it my full attention. And so I made the sensible choice. Of course, the next, once I can have cats again, it's going to be 1 cat, because I just really experienced how difficult it is to take proper care of 2 cats, especially if they're older. So, but every time I thought about them, I thought, here we go. I thought about them, I always thought plural. I always thought cats. And like for half a year, I would keep correcting myself. And then after the first half year, that's a really story for another day. Anyway, I kind of like already met the cats that would become mine, and there were 2 of them. So it really just broke open that wall of resistance. And I was like, okay, I just know that it's going to be 2 cats, who am I kidding? So that's my first message for you today. It's, where are you kind of like censoring yourself? Where are you using your words in a way that you think will shape your reality in a way that you want, or that is sensible, or that is the right thing to do? But you're bypassing your heart. You're bypassing what you actually want, and what is also just, divinely aligned for you to have. And because there's this saying, like, drunks and children speak the truth. Your heart also speaks the truth. If you keep talking about them and about cats and about Prul, you're meant to have more cats and not one. And there's a lot of variations to that. So where are you kind of like really choke holding yourself, like, okay. I'm not going to say it. Just say it. Just own it, It will come out anyway. Okay, so that's the first unexpected message for you in this Rockstar reading, which we've now officially called readings. So they don't have to be scientific anymore. And that's great. Okay. So then I can also just, take it away with the two things that I had prepared for you and didn't know what to choose. And but now we're we're off the main road anyway. We're already kind of like in uncharted territory. So might as well just give both of the topics that I had prepared. So one of them was how humor, so a sense of humor, making jokes, being a bit of a comedian, how that is such an underrated, not just power, but also just a way of handling life, a way of processing it, but also a way of achieving your goals. There's just so many incredibly wise teachers and content creators, but like, like, lighten up, give me a joke, give me a bad joke if you need to, like, my jokes are not like really great, but give us something to smile about, and but there's also like the spiritual quality. I've really heard, and I really believe that humor is one of the few things that can really break evil. So like, if you believe in demons and if you believe in pure evil, then humor, people who are laughing, like, they cannot be touched by evil. They cannot be touched. They evil cannot get you if you because you're just so much in your power that even if they're like these 5D super powerful evil entities, even they cannot touch you if you have a sense of humor and if you practice it. If you're a practicing comedian, let's all become practicing comedians. I think that's really good. Keeps demons out and it keeps our spirits up. So so that was really one of the things that I really wanted to say. Like, if you know that you can make jokes, but you feel yourself holding back, don't hold back, because it's it's a gift for you, but it's also a gift for the world. So just let it all out. Okay. And then the third thing that I had prepared for you was how we are living in like the third space, or I would say the third world, but that's not the right phrase for this. What I mean is that before we started really living on the internet, and the internet itself also has had a development. I will go back to that later. But before we started living on the internet, we had the public space and we had the private domain, or the, I don't know if that's the right word. Let's just call it the personal space. So we had the area of relationships and of home and of taking care of our immediate family. And we had the public space where we had a career, where we were meeting the world, where we were seen in a certain way. And we always had to balance those out. Now, society had a way, and still does to a certain degree, to to give the first part to the males and to give the second part to the females. So, the career part and the visible part and the making a name for yourself in the world was done by the man, and then the woman was in charge of everything that needed taken care of in the house, without labor, or not without labor, a lot of labor, without being paid, and without having any status, and being fully reliable on her husband. So in most countries, women were not allowed to open their own bank accounts until the 70s. So, just imagine that you needed your husband to open the account. You could not do it for yourself. You were just and maybe you even had to, if you were an unmarried woman living alone, that you would have to have your father, open the account. I don't know, like you were not even a full citizen. I don't know when that changed, but it was really kind of like, first your father had all the say about you, and then it was your husband. So you were not really a full, you were not allowed to make up your own contracts. Okay, that was another, something for another day. Because there's like a whole closet of capitalism kind of like, falling out the moment you open that door. But I'll leave it at that. So there was a way where the men were, made dominant through their gender in the public space, and how women were, they had to do the work in the personal space, because that was the only space that was that they were allowed to exist in. So the emancipation of women did lead to the fact that women are now more visible in the public space, and have their own rights, and and can sign the same contracts. Although that is still, there are still residuals of the former era. So where the child automatically gets the name of the man and stuff like that. Anyway, so the women have expanded to the public space, but the men have not been trained or encouraged or even prepared to do up that work in the personal space. So that is that was really something that they kind of like missed in the 20th century. Like, if the women are not going to take care of the family, and are also not going to take care of the man anymore, then we need the men to be prepared to take care of themselves, and take care of their children, and take care of the household. So that that was not ideal. So we're still kind of like, figuring out, how do we live in these two extremely important spaces, in the public domain and in the private domain, or in the in the career and the visibility, and in the home, and in the intimacy of your personal space. But before we could solve that, there was a third space. That was the internet. And I really think we hugely underestimated what that meant, because it really meant, and it means to this day, that we have a third space to take care of. That if we drop the ball there, or if we are ruined there, then it has the same consequences of our home burning to the ground, or losing our job and our reputation and our career in the public domain. If you would, if you would experience a crash or something, and you lose all your access to all your accounts or something, or even if you would lose access to one account, Yeah, that is real damage. That is kind of like the same as, I don't know, right? Losing your car in because you had it in park and it drove into the canal. It's like, um, how do you? Well, if you have it in park, it's not good. But if you had a car and you lost it, it kind of like just, the wheels kept spinning and you saw your parked car going into the canal, right? So on the moment when we were still wrestling with that whole public domain, private domain thing, we had a third space coming in, and we are not, we're not thinking about how we make that equal. We're not thinking about how we give that meaning. We're not thinking about how we want to be there. So we have had this whole kind of like emancipation of work where well, everybody's participating, but also that, an acknowledgement that we want to have work with meaning and work that we like to do, or that if we make different choices, then that is really difficult. We're aware of that. We're aware of, oh, the labor we're doing is really, really heavy. It's putting a strain on us. It's, I don't know, like maybe if you're working night shifts or something, it's really heavy on our body. There's an awareness about what good work is that is sustainable and what is draining us. There's an awareness there, but that is the result of ever since the Industrial Revolution, where we started doing this type of work. There is an awareness there, and the same thing for the private space. If you look at the how much we're constantly tweaking how we live and how we are with other people and our love life and romance and hobbies, and there's so much going on in our personal domain, like the nighttime routines and the morning routines and the beauty routines, and it's like we're making a whole religion out of our personal space, and that's great. That's really great. But at the same time, the online space and how we relate to our digital assets, for example, and how we protect them, but also how we are strategic with them, what our end game is with all those things that we created and that we are, leaving on the internet. We're not thinking about it. It's really, we're thinking about it in such a rudimentary way, compared to how much time we are investing in it, and also compared to how affected we would be if we would lose access, or if we would lose our digital assets. And I'm talking not about crypto, I'm just talking about, files that you have, or like, photos or videos or anything you have in your phone, or memory cards or whatever. So it's like we are kind of like in three worlds. You are living in three worlds, and that third world is not rooted in, was not, your ancestors didn't have it. Your parents didn't have it until they were much older. So it's completely new. And I think that is something to sit with. Like, what would happen if you would bring the same consciousness and care into that digital world as you have learned to put into your career, your public, the way you appear in public, and as you have put in the way you behave at home and in your in your personal relationships. So what would happen? Okay. I probably should be making a joke now, considering considering how important I just said that I thought jokes were. But yeah, I'm kind of like I'm not the comedian. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Okay, so that was the first reading. It was the first reading. It was the first audio where I just yeah, throw away the script. Throw away the script. Okay, so see you next time, and well, should we say namaste to close it off? Yeah, let's do that. Namaste.